Hello everyone and welcome to another Mondays with Michele video. My September 18th video focused on England's tax records. This week, we'll talk about Scottish tax records. We will look at what is available and discuss what you can learn from these documents. Let's get started. Since we talked about English taxation records last week, I thought I would continue on and show you some of the resources available for Scotland and briefly mention some of the links for Welsh and Irish taxation records as well. One of the reasons I wanted to spend some time focusing on the Scottish tax records is there is an awful lot online for the less common taxes. So it's interesting to view those records and get an idea as to the type of information that's provided. So as we did last week, I wanted to show you some of the Family Search research wiki pages. So this is the wiki page for Scotland taxation. You can see there are all kinds of links. And if you take a look at the name of the website, most of these images are on the Scotland Places website. There are some on Find My Past and Ancestry. It tends to be things like the death duty register, some of the valuation, the land valuation records that we've looked at previously. Those you can find on websites like Family Search or Find My Past or Ancestry. But there's a lot more taxes that are available on the Scotland Places website. Now, another useful website for Scottish research, and we've looked at this before, is the National Records of Scotland, the archives, and they have a good general write-up about Scottish tax records. The information is very similar to what we looked at for the English records. They do have information on poll tax rolls. They've got information here for different types of taxes. What's nice about this list is it tells you the type of information you can get, as well as the date range for these records and where you can find them online. And as I mentioned, most of these are on the Scotland Places website, which is the next website we're going to. So the handout will have all of these links. You don't have to worry about trying to remember it, but the Scotland Places website, what we're looking at right now is what they call their historical tax rolls page. And you can see as I scroll down, there's a wide variety of taxes listed. What I really like is they give quite a bit of description on that tax. So for instance, dog tax rolls says a tax of 5 shillings on non-working dogs was levied. The resulting dog tax rolls provide information about owners of non-working dogs in Scotland and the number of dogs they owned. So you can see the range of taxes: inhabited house tax, the land tax, the female and male servant taxes, shop tax rolls, etc. Now, what I did was I decided to take a look at a few of these tax rolls. So I took a look at the female servant tax rolls, basically clicked this entry here, and I've got the screen already up, and it brings you to a list of all the available rolls. And as you can see, they've got these first 2 entries split by county. So volume 1 here, it's listing the counties that are covered. This was a particular one I was interested in since my Renton family came from Berwickshire and some of them Lanarkshire. They've also got the rolls split by major towns, and that's what these are. So you can see we've got the range of years and they're divided up. So I clicked on this first entry here and came to this page, which is the detail of this volume. And you can also look at transcription information. But I wanted to look at the actual images. So I scrolled down to Berwickshire and just clicked the first page of the Berwickshire section, because as you can see, there's about 7 or 8 pages of information for Berwickshire. So I clicked this first page, and this is the image that I saw, and I'll just shrink it down a bit. So this is the female servants tax page. And if we look at the column headings, we've got the dates of the survey, the master and mistress name and their designation. It says the parish that they are in. It gives the names of the female servants. What's also very useful, after it gives the name, it's giving their occupation. And then over on the right, we're seeing the total number of servants. They have the different rate schedules. So if there was how many one servant groups there were, how many two servant, because the rate was different depending on how many servants. So I enlarged this just to be able to see some details. So if we take a look, for instance, we have a dairymaid, we have a housemaid, a cook, another cook. So this is a really useful document if you have any female or male ancestors who were in service. These kinds of documents can identify the role they played, also the household that they were working for in the parish. And again, these records are from the late 1700s, so that's really useful. Now, I mentioned Find My Past, Ancestry, Family Search. They all have some tax records. Not a lot, but there are some. So on Find My Past, when I went into search and did all record sets, and it brought me to this screen, I typed in tax, and then under the location, I just selected Scotland to limit the results. And you can see we have an early poll tax record. We've got one hearth tax record, and we've got another poll tax record from 1695. So not a lot. Some of the records might show up under the name of the tax. So for instance, if you typed in land tax or valuation, you might get a different set of records. For ancestry, again, when I typed in tax and filtered it just for Scotland, we're getting the death duty registers. We're getting some valuation rolls, the land valuations. We're getting apprenticeship indentures. So again, there are some records. You're not seeing a lot that is specific to some of those less common tax records. So for example, if I was to type in hearth tax, it may or may not show anything. So there are no hearth tax records that have been indexed specific to Scotland. All they've got on Ancestry is Suffolk hearth tax returns. If I look on Family Search, and again, this was a catalog search, so did search, catalog, typed in tax, and I typed in the county because just typing in tax brought up way too many entries. Putting tax and Scotland did not always get me very many records because a lot of these records are actually indexed by the county or even by the town for larger places. So when you are searching for these records, make sure you are searching not just at a country level, but by county and by town, because you don't know how these records are going to be indexed. You can see that we've got hearth tax records here. We've got poll tax records here. So not a lot, but there are some items. For Scottish research, by far the Scotland's Places website has the most records for tax records. Now, as far as Welsh tax records, a lot of them are covered by the same sources I showed you last week for England. The Wales Taxation Research Wiki page does give some information on hearth tax, land tax assessment. We've looked at the online valuation records before for Wales in a previous video, the tithe records. They do have some apprenticeship tax records. There's not a lot online for the other less common taxes. So they will probably be covered either under the England records, or you're looking at having to dig them out from various archives. Not a lot online. And in fact, I took a look at the Welsh Archives portal. So this particular website allows you to search the catalogs of a number of different Welsh organizations. And when I clicked on continue to the Archives Wales search, I came to this search page. And so I thought I would search for taxation records to see what I could find. And in fact, I searched on, in this case, window tax. And you can see there are some items available. It gives the archive. These are not necessarily online. So in terms of locating where some of the records are, this is a great finding aid, but this information is not necessarily going to be viewable online. And lastly, let's talk about Ireland taxation records. And unfortunately, there isn't much that survived the various burning of the records when they had issues with the Public Record Office and their archives sites. The main taxation records that survived are those valuation and tithe allotment books, which we discussed in detail, the Griffiths valuation records, which we discussed in detail on a previous video. So if we take a look at this Research Wiki page, you'll notice they're not listing much of anything besides those land valuation records and the hearth tax records. That's pretty much it. So unlike the Scottish and the English records, there are not a lot of those other types of tax records that have survived. Again, you may find there's some in a few of the archives, but mostly you're looking at just the land and some of the hearth tax information. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Don't forget to download the handout. You'll find the link in the video description at the bottom of your screen. You may need to click Show More to see the handout links. Thanks for watching.